Alright, we're going to go back into lesson 28. Lesson 28 in the beginning book. Now, everything we've been doing so far has been setting up all these different dimension styles, different layers if you need to turn one layer off in a viewport, all that kind of stuff, correct? A little complicated, trying to set all these different things up. What we're going to get into today is annotative. Alright, basically what annotative means is you set all your styles up just like you've always done when we were doing just a single scale, one-to-one drawing. Okay, set it up just like that. Your scale factor is set to 1, everything. Good, just like we were drawing in Principles of CAD. The only difference is there's one button you're going to check on everything. And what this button does, it basically is going to allow you to go set a scale inside model space. Instead of setting your viewport scale on top of paper space, you will now be able to set a scale inside model space, which will actually tell it what you are currently drawing, what scale you're currently drawing at. Now, when you're drawing objects, that doesn't really matter. It's when you start dimensioning, placing text, hatching. These three things right here all can be controlled by annotative. Okay, we're going to step through all three of them. We'll step through dimensioning today in annotative, hatching today in annotative, and text in annotative. Okay? It's so much easier when you're drawing in paper space to use annotative. All you have to remember is when you go to start drawing it or dimensioning at a different scale, you just got to change the scale up. Okay, let me show you. Alright, so let's see. Let me get a couple little drawings on here. Okay. Alright, let's figure out what scale we want. Let's see, let's do a 1.5 inch, 32 inch. Alright, that'll be good. 4:1. Let's set this one. That'll be good. Okay. So we have two crazy scales. Alright? Now, I want to go out here. I want to dimension these. Okay? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in. I'm going to set up dimension style, all my standards. I'm going to go in and set up multi-leader, all my standards. And then I'm going to go in and set up my text to what we usually do. Okay, and usually we do what? There's two different texts we've been using. What are the two? Standard and dim, right? Standard's got a width factor of 1, dim has a width factor of 0.65. So, we're going to come in here. I'm going to do my dimension style, which I hit D spacebar on the keyboard. Let's see. Instead of setting it up under standard, which I'll show you in a minute, I'm just going to come right here to annotative and modify it. Okay, and y'all do, let's see, 13, 13.125, 1.125. Alright, so I can do it right here. Let's see. We're going to say standards 1. Let's leave it at that. And then I'm going to create another one called dim. Width factor 0.65. But I want to change one thing here. One thing that's different than what we've been doing. Instead of it just being dim, I want to put it at annotative. Okay? So I'm going to check annotative. Notice what it put right next to my dim word now. My dim title. It put an actual, looks like a little blue tri-scale. Now, once you check annotative, it does change one more thing. I'm going to uncheck that to show you something. What does this say right here? Just height, right? When I check it, what does it say? Paper text height. Now, when you're using annotative, you do have to go ahead in here and tell it exactly what the standard height is that you usually use. Okay, so it does change things up a little bit. So what's the standard text height? 0.125. Okay, once I'm done, I'm leaving standard as regular. Why? Because I don't want it to be annotative, because generally my standard text is that we only put it where? We generally only put our standard text on the title block, correct? So it's always going to be one-to-one in paper space, so I'll leave it alone. Okay, so I'm going to close this, change this to dim. Notice now I cannot change my text height. Okay, you cannot change it. My text color by layer. I'm going to leave this none because I've noticed that if we try to type extra things in on our dimension lines, then it won't get rid of the background even if you try to. So I'm going to leave this none. Yet again, this is depending on whatever type of drawing we do. If it's architectural, it's going to be above. If it's right now, we'll just leave it center. We'll change this to a line. Fit. All right. No matter if you're under the standard dimension style, you're creating a new dimension style, or you're under the annotative. You can make them all annotative, or you can make them all non-annotative. Easy way to do it is under the Fit tab. You see there's an annotative button right there. If it's checked, it's annotative. If it's not checked, it's like the regular way we use it, with the scale factor. But for now, we're going to leave it annotative. Alright, so I'm going to hit OK. My annotative, I'm going to set current, close. I'm going to go ahead and set up a multi-leader style. I've already set up my text style. I'm going to go ahead and set up my multi-leader style. Same thing, I'm going to use annotative and just modify it. Under leader format, your color should be 13. Your arrowhead should be 0.125. Under leader structure, your landing distance should be 3/16 or 1/4 of an inch, whichever one you would like. Same thing. Before, we had to put our scale factor right here, did we not? Now we don't have to because we're doing annotative. If it's unchecked, you would use your scale factor. If you check it, you're currently now in annotative. Content. We're going to use dim content or textile. The text color is by layer. Notice your text height you cannot change. Always left justify. Middle of top line, middle of top line. This can stay at 0.09 or you can change it at 0.0625. And I like to extend the leader to text. When I'm done, I hit OK. Notice I got my blue tri-scale next to it. Set current, close. So all my stuff is set annotative right now. Alright. Now that it's all set annotative, when I go to dimension, we set this one right here to what scale? Do you remember? I think we set it to 6 inch equals a foot. And this one over here, I think we set 4:1. So, notice I am in model space right here. I have a scale down here. This is, if you hover over it, it says the annotation scale. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go ahead and do this one first. So I'm going to click 6 inches equals a foot. Alright, now I'm just going to dimension it. Alright. Now watch what happens if I hover over one of my dimension styles. What is it showing next to my cursor? That tri-scale, that tells you that that is currently in annotative state. Okay? Now, I want to change it to this one. So I'm going to change the scale down here now to 4:1. Now I'm going to dimension this one. Okay, notice that's a big difference in between textiles, right? Or in between sizes of everything. So when I did this one, I set this to 6 inches equals a foot. When I went to go through this one, I turned around and changed it 4:1. All right, let's go in our layout. Look at it. Does the text height look the same? Yes, it does. Do the arrowheads look the same? Yes, they do. All right. Down here, I'm on layout, so that means I'm on top of paper space right now. If you look down here, they have this little tri-scale with the light bulb on it. If this light bulb is blue, that means show only the annotative text that is set to that certain scale, that viewport. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. If I uncheck this, that means show all dimensions no matter what scale they're set at. Okay? So watch what I mean. Let's say I was going to do a third. And I wanted to bring this one to okay, let's say I want to bring it to a 2:1. Let's just say that. Well, let's do this. I'm going to do Okay, let's say we're doing enlargement or something. What do you notice? Are those dimensions there? No, because this is set to, if the dimensions are not to the scale that the viewport is set at, then make them disappear. It's pretty cool, right? Because what did you have to do on the last one? Well, what did I show y'all last week? You actually would have to turn all, or set different dimension layers, turn it all inside that viewport. Now, so let me go ahead and lock these down. How would I get these to show up in here? One way is you can click on the viewports or the dimensions that you want to show up in here, and you can right-click on it. Once you select them, you right-click, you come right here to Annotative Object Scale, Add or Delete a Scale. So when I click on it, you notice it's set to only 6 inches equals a foot. Well, I'm going to add one more. I set this one 2 to 1, hit OK, hit OK. Now look at showing up. Okay? Now, if this was turned on instead of off like it is, you see this popped up down here? Watch what else you'll see. Let's see if I'm doing right here. Watch what happens if I hover over this. What do you notice? What is next to my cursor now? There's 2 tri-scales, which means you have this one dimension set to do 2 different scales, which means I'm sure you're showing it 2 different viewports at different scales. Okay? Watch if I go out to the model space. Same thing. And if you click on it and zoom in, look what it shows you. It shows you both of them. Okay? So it kind of helps you know how many scales you have set for each one and so forth. Now, let's say you delete this and you want to get rid of both of those scales, or those 2 scales that I've added to this one, or these 2 dimensions. All you have to do is click on them, right click, Annotative Object Scale, Add Delete Scales, click on 2 to 1, delete, OK, and it's gone. Now if I hover over it, it's single tri-scale again. Okay? Now let's say we're going to put some M-text in here. Okay? Same thing. If it's set to annotative, you have to come down here and change the scale you want to set it to. Since it's already set to 4 to 1, I'm going to go ahead and put some text in here. Notice I don't have to come in here and change text height or anything. Okay, now I'm going to change this back to 6 inches equals a foot. Do an M-text again. Alright, I'm going to go back to layout 1. Notice they're both there. They both look like they're the same height. Okay? So you see, in Annotative, you don't have to go through all the headaches of setting all the different dimension styles up, figuring the scale factors up. You don't have to go through and figure out, okay, what is the actual text height at this scale? You don't have to take the scale factor times 1/8. You don't have to do any of that. And hatch works the same way. I'm going to come in here and go to hatch this. Alright, over here, you've got to come in here and click Annotative. Then go through the same process you do on anything. I'm going to go ahead and do ANSI 31. Click in here, and I'm done. I want to do the same thing over here, except I'm going to change my scale to the proper scale. Annotative. Alright, now watch what happens. See how that looks so much bigger than that hatch? The spaces are gapped a lot more. Now watch what happens when you go to the layout. They not look exactly the same. Annotative, when you set those scales, automatically adjust everything for you. Okay? So you can see where working in multiple drawings now will actually make it a lot easier to create viewports with multiple scales and dimension it and everything else. Alright, and I want to show you, you can add delete scales by going through the change properties also. CH on the spacebar keyboard or by clicking this little arrow under properties. You can see right here it says miscellaneous, dimension style, annotative, annotative scale yes, annotative scale 6 inch equals a foot. You can add one right here if you want by clicking in there, clicking on the dots, and it brings you to the same box. You can also do it through the Annotate tab up here. Right over here, you see there's annotation scaling. Here's add delete scales. So there's tons of ways you can add the scales to each dimension style if need be. Does this look a lot easier than what you've been doing? You still need to know both ways, truly. Okay. Everybody feel pretty comfortable with that? Okay? You feel okay with it? Alright, hold on. Let me find. Alright, here's what you're going to do for your assignment. On page 27-29, you're going to draw the image that you see right there. You're going to go ahead and dimension that image exactly how you see it there. Okay? Now, what you're going to do once you get it drawn in dimension, or at least drawn, you want to draw it first, okay? Draw it first. Dimension the whole entire thing. What I want you to do is have to add delete scales. Alright, what I want you to do is draw it, dimension the entire object to 1/4 inch equals 1 foot scale. Okay, you're going to put it on our title block. Okay, you're not going to use that title block that they show you. You'll put it on ours. And then what you're going to do, once you've drawn it, dimension it to 1/4 inch equals a foot using annotative scaling, you're going to go to 28-13. I'm sorry, 28-14. 28-14. One more scale over. And you're going to make you're going to create 4 different viewports. And you're going to put inside those viewports what each one of those viewports is showing, along with the exact dimensions they're showing inside each one of those viewports. Which means, if you notice, those viewports are set to different scales, right? So that means you're going to have to go into those specific dimensions, and you're going to have to add and delete scales, or add scales to. Okay? You're going to put, like you see there, the VP scale, blah, blah, blah. You're going to put those over each one of those viewports because you have to know what each scale is. The scale down in your title block will be classified as either as shown or as noted, because you can't put a specific scale there. You're actually going to have to tell basically, when you see as shown or as noted in the title block, that means that you got multiple scales on the drawing, so you got to go out to the drawing to find out what the scales are. And for the title of this drawing, we're going to call it Classroom. Okay, the title will be called Classroom. And for the exercise number, use 28A. Exercise 28A. All right, you understand what's needing to be done. What is one of the first things you notice that you're going to have to do drawing this? You got to do architectural units. So you got to go to your unit manager, UN spacebar, and you got to change it from decimal to architectural. Same thing in your dimension style. You got to change it from decimal to architectural. All right, is everybody pretty clear of what to do here? You're fixing to find out real quick that Annotative is going to make your life a whole lot easier. Okay? We're getting into stuff that's going to make your life easier to draw. Now, why I say you still need to know the other ways, it's just like I said before, some companies do not allow you to use paper space. So if you can't use paper space, that means you cannot use annotative dimensioning text hash. Okay? So you still need to know both ways. But I promise you, every class you're in from here on out, you will be doing most likely paper space in here or in this program. Because we will have a lot of drawings we get to do. We have multiple scales on paper. All right? And to me, paper space is so much easier because you don't have to figure what? You don't have to figure how much I need to scale my title block. I don't have to figure all that using paper space. My title block goes on top of paper space. It's set 1-to-1. When I plot, I don't have to try to remember a scale I need to plot to, because when your title block is on top of paper space, you plot 1-to-1. So it just makes paper space makes your life a whole lot easier. All right, any questions? Any questions on any material we've covered so far?
On the one we just turned in, are you going to come off and do after block?
No. No. But I'm glad you asked that,
did my dimensioning like this.
You can leave the boxes on this one too. A lot of times, now, I will tell you this, I was doing a project with an architectural firm. It was on a military project that I was helping with. The architectural firm was doing the architectural part, and I was doing all the structural part. They, when they actually create their detail sheets and their wall sections and all this kind of stuff that you have to do when you're drawing buildings, they actually use the viewport as boxes. And they actually made them a certain thickness. And what it did is they made kind of like all the boxes almost the same size. And what it did is it just kind of made a nice little pattern across the sheet. So the viewports can be used as kind of a border. Remember the lines drawing in fundamentals? We had that split up into those so many squares, 6 squares, and we use them 2 lines or 3 lines as borders. It's kind of what you're doing here too. You're using it as border. It's almost like a whole other timeline. Okay? Or part of your timeline. That's a good question. Because some of the drawings I do want you to turn them off, and some of them I don't. You'll see when we get into like your last semester with me in the spring, you will take civil drafting. We get into large scales. I'm talking about 1 to 200 style scales, huge scales. And we do like bird's eye view of a piece of property or something. Well, you're going to use viewports and stuff in there, but in that kind of case, I want you to turn them off. But in this case, you're kind of using it as a border, you turn them off. Okay. And if you want, check it out and see what it looks like. You can probably set the viewport, even though it's on a viewport layer, you may want to set it to the same thickness as your border. Because what you can do is set like the right side of this viewport right here. This one right here. You can basically set the right side of that viewport on top of the border. And then that way it blends in. Same way with the top of it. You can put the top of it where the top of the viewport is on your border so it all blends in. And then once it comes down, it looks like your borders continue on there. So you see, you can use your viewport to help kind of manipulate your drawing, make it look presentable. Okay. Any other questions? I did notice, I haven't graded them, but I did look through them. There's a lot of people forgot to scale objects on the scale drawing where you're actually supposed to scale one of the objects. There's a lot of people who didn't scale the object. Quite a few people had scaled it, but didn't scale it enough. So it'll be interesting when I start grading. Like the anchor bolt was supposed to go up. Yeah, I'm talking about like the anchor bolt and then the foundation with the wall section. No, I haven't looked at the ones up there yet. All right, any other questions? All right, this will be due Monday. It shouldn't take that long. It's very easy. It's just a bunch of rectangles, squares,